Good morning, namaskar, welcome, hello. I am Bhuvan and we shall begin the editorial edge for the 23rd of August. Okay. Today we have two important topics that we will seek to understand threadbare in the say next 45 to 60 minutes. One of them being obviously, undeniably, we cannot have overlooked that topic for today, which is Chandrayaan III. Okay. It is scheduled, so ISRO has put out its tweet saying that it will be available for live watching 5:20 p.m. onwards. So as aspirants, as someone who's obviously going to appear for the examination next year, it serves us well to go ahead and revise thoroughly the entirety of Chandrayaan III and also seek to understand what's going to happen this evening. Okay, Coder, good morning, welcome after long. Thanks for joining. Okay, all right, so the two topics that I have for you, number one is Bharat NCAP. Now, this we have to seek to understand thoroughly because again, this has been in the news. Yesterday, the Bharat NCAP was released by the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. Okay. The basic tenets, the philosophy behind this whole Bharat NCAP, we have to understand that thoroughly. Okay, we'll do that. We'll compare, say, what are the problems and challenges, and exactly what should be done. You know, what ought to be done to say make Bharat NCAP a lot more relevant. You can obviously we will be identifying certain lacunae from the policy perspective. Okay, and thereafter number two is the Chandrayaan discussion that has to be done thoroughly. Okay, so let's get into it. No point delaying the inevitable. All right, so here it is. This is my Instagram handle. You can go ahead, scan this, become a part of my Instagram community. Therein we discuss, say, any individual doubts that you have in, say, subjects of geography, environment, CSAT. I can help you out there. Or if you need any strategy and guidance, well, I'm available for that too. Okay. And so whenever I go ahead and give you, say, mains related questions in this editorial edge, in this special series early morning, will you send me the answers on my email ID. You also will find the PDF of this particular lecture uploaded on my Telegram channel at noon. Okay. Now, a basic feature of this discussion that we do every morning is go ahead and look at questions because outcome-based learning is the focus. So first, let's begin from the questions of yesterday, wherein we discussed in entirety the Minamata Convention. Okay. So first, number one, what we need to understand is Minamata Convention has to do with mercury pollution, the anthropogenic causes. As well as, say, yesterday, what we did was focus exclusively on the artisanal gold mining sector, which contributes the most to Minamata poisoning, in fact, mercury poisoning. Okay, so let's look at the question that I had for you, previous year question of the year 2010. Indiscriminate disposal of used fluorescent electric lamps causes mercury pollution in the environment. Why is mercury used in the manufacture of these lamps? Well, this is a previous year question from the year 2010. B being the answer in this case, that, well, when the lamp is switched on, the mercury in the lamp causes the emission of UV radiations. Straightforward, that one there. Okay, which is why you find that, well, mercury did find a lot of use in the fluorescent lamp industry. And thereafter, well, the story follows from yesterday. Okay, let's look at this now. What are the basic symptoms that can arise out of mercury poisoning? Now, I had told you in the class yesterday that, well, the effects are profound. Okay, right from, say, our nervous system to reproductive system. You are looking at a host of functionalities that will be affected because of mercury poisoning. And so in this case, you are looking at loss of memory that eventually happens because, again, you do find that it affects a lot of the area of the brain. Okay, your neurological capability is hit. Okay, along with your motory senses, all of that are directly hindered as a result of mercury poisoning. So loss of memory, yes. Loss of voluntary muscle movement, absolutely. Peripheral vision paralysis. In fact, paralysis is the penultimate stage of mercury poisoning before one drifts into coma and thereafter probably passes on. Okay. So which of the symptoms are correct here? Well, all of them. All of the symptoms are correct of indicative of mercury poisoning. Now, yesterday we also discussed the merging of autonomous bodies under the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Okay. And the proposed demerger now, the rolling back of the decision. We examined the merits. Both the scenarios, in fact, were discussed threadbare. Okay, and so in that we discussed the role of CZA, the Central Zoo Authority. So let's discuss some of the primary or the more well-known zoos of India. Number one being the Padmaja Naidu Himalayan Zoological Park, which is in Darjeeling, West Bengal. And you will be, well, pleased to know that it does share a campus, in fact, with another important institute of national prominence, which is the Himalayan Mountaineering Institute. Okay. So again, this is for your GS knowledge. The Himalayan Mountaineering Institute in Darjeeling does share a common campus. In fact, they have a common campus and both these institutions, the PNHZP and the HMI, share a common campus there. Pranjul, good morning. Welcome. Thanks for joining. All right. Sanjay Gandhi Biological Park in Patna is correct. You're looking at Sri Chamarajendra Zoological Garden in Mysuru. Again, a zoo of immense importance. And the last one, Nawab Wajid Ali Shah Zoological Garden in Hyderabad. Well, that's incorrect. And this is, again, like I had given you the hint yesterday, it's a question straight based out of your history knowledge. If you have read The Kingdom of Awadh and the history of Awadh, well, you will understand that Nawab Wajid Ali Shah is an important figure in that conversation, which is why there is no way that a zoo named after him could be in Hyderabad, which means this is in Lucknow. Okay. For those of you who have completed your history, very quickly let me know where was the capital of the Kingdom of Awadh? Okay. I'll give you two options. Was it Lucknow? Was it Faizabad? Was it Kanpur? Three options I've given you. Go ahead, let me know. Okay. So the incorrectly matched here being number 4. Okay. Let's move forward. Again, a previous year question from the year 2020, just year before last. Great morning to you, Kalyan. Thanks for joining. Thank you. So, critical tiger habitat, again, a straightforward question. In terms of tiger habitat, one would be best on the conversation around tigers. One would be best served to first understand NTCA. Thereafter, go and look at the tiger habitat. Look at the proposed wildlife sanctuaries that are being converted or proposed to be converted into tiger reserves, such as one that we had discussed very recently was the Madey Wildlife Sanctuary. Okay, a proposal regarding this. There's a lot of tussle going on between the government of Goa and the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change regarding this proposal of conversion of Madey Wildlife Sanctuary. Okay, so that is important. Then you look at the tiger habitat, the core, the buffer zones, and thereafter you look at tiger corridors. If you have done this in this sequence, your tiger is done. Was the capital of Awadh in Lucknow or Faizabad? Are you sure? I think the regent was posted in Lucknow. Pranjul and Socrates. I think you need to have a relook probably. Okay. Nevertheless. So the answer here being straightforward, Nagarjuna Sagar Srisailam. Okay. Alright, so these were my star individuals who had answered all the questions, or most of them in fact, correctly. To the rest, I implore you, go ahead, take part in this question discussion that we do every morning, because trust me, it will have a lot of positive effect and outcome-based learning that you will essentially look at. Okay. So go ahead, become a part of this, and to BCT, Karuna, Indian Superpower, Shubham, Crystal, Tanu, Mandeep, Evergreen, Rahul, Akshay and Ayush, thanks for your answers. Thanks for your continued participation, and I hope that one day this board will be completely filled with those people who have answered my questions correctly. ठीक है? Faizabad, I think that's correct. Kodar. Prayagraj, Ganfan, no, I don't think that was the capital of Awadh. ठीक है? All right. Let's look at the topic that I have for you first, the Bharat NCAP. Now, what does it stand for? The Bharat New Car Assessment Program. Now, before we start the discussion around Bharat NCAP, first you have to understand road safety, okay? Because the larger issue here is of road safety. Now, we had discussed in the past, and if you are joining us for the first time, please understand that road safety has multiple stakeholders. First, let's identify the stakeholders of the conversation here, okay? So, number one, what you are looking at in terms of an accident, okay? Firstly, you are looking at the driver, okay? Number two, you are looking at the car. Number three, you are looking at the road. Number four, you are thinking from the pedestrian perspective. Number five, you are looking in terms of, say, post-crash care or, say, first response, right? So these could be my primary stakeholders in the, say, a conversation around road safety. You know, unless you were to go ahead and say specifically address each of them separately, you would not capture the whole essence of road safety. Okay. So the Bharat NCAP is essentially going to go ahead and address this particular issue. For example, you look at, say, the Motor Vehicles Amendment Act. Okay. Now the Motor Vehicles Amendment Act is a lot to do and focused on the driver, right? Which is what one of the primary criticisms is, that the Motor Vehicles Amendment Act fails to understand the needs of the, say, pedestrian or the other road users. So in this case, the Bharat NCAP, the new car assessment program, that is primarily addressed at the car stakeholder. And how are you going to go ahead and, say, look at the car from the safety perspective? So globally, you have a standards of safety that is followed in terms of cars. So say how many airbags should they have? Okay. How does the car react when, say, it goes ahead and engages in a head-on collision? Okay. Understand it this way, that on the road, you are liable to go ahead and engage in a head-on collision, or you could be hit from the side, or you could be hitting a pole, a stationary object which is not wide enough. These are the three conditions that are looked at. Preetham, thanks for your feedback. Bulbul, good morning, thanks for joining. Right, so these are the three ways you are going to be hit on the road. So globally, the best standards you will find have three tests, okay, which essentially go ahead and test a car in three conditions: front test, side test, and side pole test. Based on the tests, these cars are given certain rating between say 1 to 5. 1 being obviously the worst, 5 being the best. Okay. So now this is the fundamental basis of Bharat NCAP. Okay. Now what you're going to find is that under the Bharat NCAP, you are going to go ahead and test cars. Okay. And thereafter, you are going to give them safety ratings. And the ratings will be divided in two categories. One will be for an adult and one will be for a child. So exactly telling us how safe the car is in case of say a front side collision or a side collision or a side pole collision. How safe is it for say an adult? How safe is it for say an infant or a child? Okay, that is the primary categorization. Now why is that a necessity in India? Well, when you look at it, Indian vehicle manufacturers, because they understand that say the Indian market is price sensitive. Okay, so what did they do? What's ideally been observed is that say Indian cars that run on Indian roads or cars that run on Indian roads have lower ratings than say the cars that run abroad. And that could be within the same model of a particular company. For example, I'll tell you, for example, say Hyundai Creta. And this is just one example, okay? There's no specific love or hate for Hyundai Creta. But one example, Hyundai Creta in India. What you'll find is that say if it is rated, for example, if it is rated for the Indian markets, the base variant, okay? The base variant is one that is the most say basic of that particular variety. On top of that, you have say better variants, say something with a sunroof or something with say many airbags, all of that is in the higher variants. So you're looking at the base variant, the most basic one that is available in the market. That is found that it is probably 1 star or 2 star. The same model, when it is sold in Latin America, you are finding that it is 4 star or 5 star. So you see what is happening now? Because of say poor safety standards on part of the car, you are having more problems, more road accidents, right? Up until now, you have seen say Motor Vehicles Amendment Act going and addressing the driver side of things. The Good Samaritan Act, right? Where you can go ahead and help someone who has engaged in a car accident or has had accident on the road. Well, that is for the post crash. So every law is designed at a particular segment, a particular stakeholder. The Bharat NCAP is designed for the cars. This is the basic fundamental before we get into the discussion. Clear enough? If you have any questions, very quickly let me know in the chat. Okay. So look at this. This is the tweet by Minister Gadkari. Launched the Bharat New Car Assessment Program, aiming to enhance road safety by elevating vehicle safety standards. And now here is one fact for you. Up to 3.5 ton vehicles in India, which means that the heavier vehicles that you're looking at are excluded. The industrial vehicles of sorts are excluded from this. You're looking at the private vehicles. More importantly, the ones that are used by you and I. That will be a part of this particular Bharat NCAP. Okay. So let's look at the key features now. What is Bharat NCAP? It aims to create an ecosystem of competitive safety leading to increased awareness amongst consumers, thereby reducing road accidents. The ultimate goal here being that India should go ahead and reduce road accidents because, well, what we find is that the number of people that we lose, we are losing a lot of our GDP because of the, say, contributing potential of those individuals who died in, say, road crashes because they, say, did not have access to a host of other factors. Say, post-op was not provided, or say the road was badly designed, or say there were black spots. Okay, black spots is again a particular term that is used in road safety, which is essentially that you cannot see from the other side. Your vision is unhindered for the oncoming traffic. Okay, So, couple of terms that you need to be aware of in, say, road safety when from the examination perspective. Okay. Number one is obviously black spots that I just told you about. And number two is what you're going to consider is the safe systems approach. Now, what is the safe systems approach, guys? Understand it in a simple manner. Please make a note of this because, well, you never know. UPSC loves these kind of terms. So, the safe system approach essentially goes ahead and says that for each of these stakeholders, you are going to go ahead and create safety nets. That say, yes, as humans, we are going to make mistakes and say no driver is going to be 100%. Okay, mistakes are inevitable is what the safe system approach says first, and that the best way to reduce the fatalities is to go ahead and address each of them individually. So, for example, the safe system approach would say that go ahead and design your roads in a scientific manner. For example, it will also say that go ahead and design your speed bumps in a scientific manner. Now, you in your own town, if you were to go ahead, drive around your own town, just in your own town, you will find that the speed bumps are not uniform. Some places they are more like, say, C mounts. Some places there is something else. So again, there is no proper uniformity in the construction of speed bumps. So a safe system approach would say that here, go ahead, have a uniform way of designing and constructing speed bumps. Okay. A safe system approach would say that go ahead, make sure that post-op care, post-crash care is straight away available. The first response is immediately available. That yes, accidents are going to happen, but accidents should not lead to fatalities is the question. That is the safe systems approach. Okay. So these two terms you will keep in mind because their exam perspective is important here. Alright. So now let's look at it. Consumers can take an informed decision by making a comparative assessment on vehicle performance under crash test conditions. So thereafter, from the 1st of October, you go ahead and want to buy a car, say XYZ, right? You will be getting a safety standard with that vehicle. Is it 2-star? Is it 3-star? Is it 4-star? Okay. That star rating will essentially be an average of the star rating for individually for the adult as well as the child. How safe is it for the child? How safe is it for someone who's at the back? Now, there are other safety systems also that are included in this. Say not just the 3 crash systems that I told you. It also needs to have those beeping reminders if you don't go ahead and put in your seat belt. The car should go ahead and remind you timely, right? The car should also not allow you to disable that beep. Several cars allow you to go ahead and disable that beep. Well, no, that's not the point. Okay. All of these are part of the safety assessment that will be carried out for the cars. Okay. And now here is it. The Central Institute for Road Transport, Pune. This is in fact the coordinating agency for this whole Bharat NCAP project. This is a premier organization. Okay. And it was initially set up as a collaboration of Association of Road Transporters and Ministry of then Shipping. Okay. Private body. However, it is probably one of the most underappreciated bodies in India because it does a lot of novel work in sort of say road safety management and research. Okay, based out of Pune. So, safety ratings will be given for vehicles up to 3.5 tons coming into effect from October the 1st. Gear up. If you are going to buy a car, make sure that you choose a higher safety rating car. Okay. Now, the global NCAP per Morth have collaborated on Bharat NCAP. So, here is the global assessment, the best standards that are followed in Western vehicles, their body, plus the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways that have come together for Bharat NCAP. Okay. So, India now becomes the 5th country to have its own vehicle standards. So, let's look at the key features. Like I told you, first, you are looking at star rating between 1 to 5, 5 being the best. Alright. And so, first, adult and then child. Both will be evaluated. The tests that will be carried out, front impact test, side impact test, side pole impact test. Now, if you have still got any confusion insofar as what a front impact test is or what a side impact test is or what a side pole impact test is, here it is. This is what exactly is going to happen. In the front impact test, you are looking at a head-on collision. Okay. In a side impact test, you are looking at a car coming and hitting you laterally from the side. Whereas in the pole collision, you are looking at a stationary object against which you go ahead and crash. The 3 tests designed specifically to make sure that the car is safe, considered to be safe under variable conditions. It is tested under variable conditions because again, the conditions on the road are also dynamic. Correct? Okay. So the front impact test against an offset deformable barrier. So look at this. Here is your barrier. The speed of the car, 64 kilometers per hour. Uniform. Go ahead, crash against it, see how the car behaves. Okay. What is the effect on, say, the front seat fellows? What is the effect on the back seat? What happens if you have crashed against it without your seat belt? With your seat belt? Did the, say, airbags open up on time? Okay. What were the bruises, injuries, fatalities? All of that are done according to this test. Okay. Similar for, say, the side impact test you're looking at, and pole impact test for 29 kilometers per hour. Okay. Basic information, not a lot of understanding here in it. Now, how is it going to work? Now, herein is a little bit of the criticism of this policy. Okay. For example, what you understand here is now, I've given you, say, what the exactly policy entails. But the major criticism. First things first, what you're looking at is that it is a voluntary process. Okay. Up until now, say if you were an Indian car manufacturer, you wanted to go ahead and get your vehicles tested for safety. Well, abroad, it would cost you somewhere, say, around 2.5 crores per car. Okay. In India, that cost is coming down to 60 lakhs per car. So even though, because of Bharat NCAP, you will find that the cost of testing is going to become low, the mere fact that it is voluntary in nature, okay, that's as a car manufacturer, it is up to me whether to submit to Bharat NCAP or not. So that essentially probably may well undermine the whole point of the policy. Now, some may argue saying, well, the whole point of the policy is to go ahead and create, say, an awareness on part of the consumer, and eventually that transition might be made so as to make it absolutely mandatory for any car manufacturer in the country. That may well be a fair argument. But as a starting point, yes, the country has taken its first step in making sure its cars are safe. You know, when you consider the whole conversation around road safety up until now, the business side of the whole problem was overlooked. However, with Bharat NCAP, this is going to happen for the first time. Okay, so let's look at it. How is it going to happen? The car manufacturer will nominate a vehicle model. Now thereafter, the Bharat NCAP team goes and selects a base variety. Here, the base variant is chosen, not the topmost variant. For example, if you want to go ahead and, just the same example, you want to go ahead and buy Hyundai Creta. Now a base variant may exist, which may or may not have, say, the number of airbags equivalent to the best variant. Obviously, the best variant will be the most costly. It will have all the features, all of the safety features. So obviously, it will have a higher score on the Bharat NCAP. But the point is to go ahead and choose the base variant, because that again probably might be for the first choice of the price conscious consumer. Okay. So the base variant is chosen. Thereafter, it is sent to a testing center. It will be crash tested, the 3 tests that I told you about. Okay. It will be witnessed by the representative of the car manufacturers, complete transparency. Test results will be compiled, shared with the car manufacturer. Okay. Thereafter, the approval of the standing committee, the star rating and crash test results will be made public. Thereafter, the car gets a safety standard, which it will affix on its, shisha. Okay? It should be affixed on the car. So this is the whole point. But the primary criticism right now is that it is voluntary. So as a car manufacturer, well, I can very well choose to escape this test. However, what's imperative is that as the consumer can create that pressure from the market side. That if the consumers insist that the car should have at least a 4-star rating or a 5-star rating, only then can you see this become a more inclusive process. Up until then, well, you'll find most of the car manufacturers try to evade the Bharat NCAP. Okay. All right. Now let's look at few questions, guys. Quickly. Some basic questions. Number 1, what is the validity of learner's license in India? Okay. Let's see. Future civil servants should know this answer. So go ahead. What you're going to do is, I have questions from, say, A to F. Okay. A to F, I have questions. Go ahead and leave those answers for me in the comment box. If you have any particular questions related to Bharat NCAP or the whole road safety or safe systems approach, you can reach out to me on my Instagram ID, or you can send me an email, or you can also leave a comment for me in the comment box. I'll respond either ways. Okay? So, validity of learner's license, you will tell me. Which of the following must be mandatorily shown on demand in case of private vehicles? Okay, trip sheet, GCR, insurance certificate, DL registration trip sheet, DL registration insurance certificate tax token, or DL tax token or trip sheet. Okay, you will let me know. Okay, which of them should be mandatorily produced on demand? You should know, civil servants. All right, let's go forward. Which of the following must be, well, I seem to have repeated questions here. Okay. D. Identify the correct statements regarding Green Highway Mission. All right. A Green Highway Mission, a project of the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. It is being implemented through the NHAI. So you will go ahead and let me know the answer to this. It involves the use of clean energy technologies and promote climate resilience for highway construction. The project will also promote the use of electric vehicles and bring down greenhouse gas emissions. Lime, fly ash, waste plastic, bioengineering methods to be used. And MORTH and State Bank of India are collaborating together on this project. Who is the financier of the Green Highways Mission? You should identify that. Okay. All right. So that completes the first topic that I had for you, Bharat NCAP. Meanwhile, this finishes this very evening, 6 p.m. You know, the sign up link for the P2I batch, we have already got batches ongoing. I am personally associated with the batch that started on the 11th of August. We have done a major part of our geomorphology, and we are now headed into oceanography. So again, if this is the kind of strategy and guidance that you seek, a particular thought process, a particular plan of action, and thereafter implementation of that action thoroughly, go ahead and sign up for the P2I project. Okay, you'll find the sign up link in the description box. The whole programming offered in 3 languages. Okay, Hindi, English, bilingual. I am associated with the English team, and so if you choose to go ahead and sign up for this, use the code BALIVE. Be alive. All right. Why? Because, well, I get associated with you first. All right. And you get a good discount. So everyone is happy. All right. So this closes this evening, 6 p.m. Make haste. Don't tell me later I didn't tell you so. Okay. The number 2 topic that we have for you today. This evening, 5:20 p.m., India will attempt to join a select League of Nations. And I think it's best served that we go ahead and revise everything that is there to be learnt about Chandrayaan III. Okay. 13th of July, we sent our LVM3 up. Okay. Good morning, Sandhya. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you. Guys, do leave your answers in the comment box though, please. Okay. That'll help you. So, 13th of July, when this story started, and today the 23rd of August, when this story might very well come to its conclusion. So what we do know so far, number 3, very quickly we'll revise. Lander, rover and propulsion modules are a part of Chandrayaan 3. What is not a part of Chandrayaan 3? Well, the obvious one. What is not a part? The orbiter. Why is it not a part? Well, because we did send Chandrayaan 2, right? And so what you found was that while the lander might have, say, gone ahead and crashed in case of Chandrayaan 2, the orbiter was still there. And so what we did was, we just sent the other parts that we needed. In fact, if you were following, say, the ISRO's Twitter handle, you would have seen that they tweeted that, well, Chandrayaan 2 says hello. That finally the orbiter of Chandrayaan 2 made contact with our Chandrayaan 3 mission. And thereafter, the orbiter anyway is giving us a lot of information that it has collated since Chandrayaan 2 crashed. Okay. So, the highest number of payload being carried by the lander module, obviously, because, well, the lander is the one that will go ahead and land on the surface of the moon, and thereafter will come out our rover, and thereafter it will go and explore the surface of the moon. So you would expect that payload, which means the all the experimental material that it is carrying with itself, right? All the, say, instruments and appliances and everything, all the different mechanics that are involved, all of that are a part of the payload. Okay. So most of the payload, by common sense, on the lander module. Chandrayaan rover named Pragyan. Lander is Vikram. Okay. Revision quickly. Chandrayaan 2 had an orbiter, which is not a part of Chandrayaan 3. Let's go forward. So now let's understand why is it that you find that, say, the moon is important. Okay. Before we understand the discussion around Chandrayaan 3, it's very important to consider why are we going ahead and landing on the, say, south pole of the moon. Okay. So let's look at these facts that I have for you very quickly. Moon is believed to contain valuable resources. You're looking at water, ice, minerals, rare elements. Now, can you go ahead and bring them back to Earth right now? Well, not possibly so. Okay. It would be incredibly expensive. However, what we are looking to do is use these resources, okay, and not just resources locally in the moon. You're looking at setting up a base, setting up of a checkpoint, okay. So you're looking at using moon as a base for deeper space exploration, and for setting up base there, you're going to need resources which are already available on the surface of the moon, okay. So the presence of water ice on the moon's surface, water can be split into hydrogen, oxygen, which means you can go ahead and use the energy, the fuel source for your propellants. Thereafter, you're looking at making sure that deep space exploration becomes much more cost effective, right? Now, can someone tell me very quickly, say Chandrayaan III and Luna 25, both were headed towards the moon. Why is it that, say, the Luna reached earlier? Why is it that the Chandrayaan III is going second? There is a certain reason for that, and it is to do with cost effectiveness, all right? So someone very quickly let me know in the chat if you know the answer to that. I will be discussing the answer soon. So the lunar south pole stores vast amount of water ice and has low level of light for extended periods, thus suitable for a base. This particular area is what you are interested in, okay? And you're finding that it's not just resources, it is also in the shade area, which means the temperature will be habitable. You do not want to be in the direct line of fire of the sunlight, okay? Since you have shade, you're expecting to find water, ice, which you can go ahead and break down as fuel material for your propellants, which means it's got all the material that you need for a short-term base there, okay? So the Chandrayaan 3, like I've told you, number of modules, propulsion, which started from here, which basically made sure that it went ahead in the air, okay? Thereafter, you have the lander, which we will see today in action, the Vikram, which will essentially go forward, land on the surface of the moon, controlled landing, controlled autonomous landing will be carried out, okay? This evening, go ahead and have a look at this. What is going to happen here is controlled autonomous landing will be carried out by the Vikram lander. Now, what does this mean? It means that for, say, around 17 to 18 minutes after the lander module is headed towards the surface of the moon, it is going to act autonomously. At a certain point of time, its speed is going to be close to 1,000 kilometers per second. Okay. And then it is expected to go ahead and control its descent, control its braking, okay, autonomously, by the way. And you will find that just say above 800 meters from the surface of the moon, okay, our module will go ahead and start scanning the surface of the moon. Up until now, descending at a high speed comes to a gradual halt. Go ahead, scan the entire area as to which will be the best position for itself to land. Clear? Correct. Pranjul, you are correct. Socrates, using moon orbital, correct. Good. I'll come to your Kalyan. I'll just come to you. So this is going to happen at 800 meters, controlled descent, comes to a gradual halt, scans the whole area, chooses the best spot, and then lands itself. Now immediately, once it goes ahead and lands itself, obviously a certain amount of dust is expected to be created, which means after it lands, you're not going to find that suddenly our rover smashes out of the lander. No, it's not going to happen. For some time, it will be led to rest because the moon's regolith needs to come to a rest. The dust particles need to settle down. Why? Why do the dust particles need to settle down? Why? Because you need to take good pictures. Eventually, it is about photos, be it here for us or for science missions too. Okay. So why? Because once the dust settles down, thereafter you will find that here you have the lander module, the propulsion module, the rover module has gone out exploring the surface of the moon. The rover will take a photo of the lander will take a photo of the rover, which will eventually be transmitted back to us, and it will be breaking news, including here, which I will be showing it to you. Okay? So that is the whole process that is going to follow this evening. Up until now, what you have found is that our whole entire lander module is going ahead and orbiting the moon. This has happened why? Because again of controlled orbital descent. We will discuss what has exactly happened there too. Okay. So the lander Vikram, the rover, they'll be taking photos of each other, beaming them back to us. Okay. They will enable scientists to gain new insights into the characteristics of the Earth's sole natural satellite. Can someone in the chat very quickly tell me what's the relationship with this body? How is Theia connected to Moon and Earth? Very quickly let me know if someone knows about this. See, I discussed this in my recent P2I class. Okay, absolutely, Pranjul. It will be a very proud moment for us. Though I'm actually giddy about it. I'm not showing it because. Okay. But anyways, tell me what's the relationship between Theia, okay, a body. What's the relationship between Theia, Earth, and Moon? Okay. If anyone knows the answer to that, let me know in the chat very quickly, or the comment box if you're watching this later. Okay. So Chandrayaan II lander rover configuration and its payloads were lost. However, the orbiter remained, which is why we have a lot of information. Now, how did it go up? Well, launch vehicle Mark III. India's, well, the news fellows call it Bahubali rocket. It is India's heaviest ever rocket, biggest ever rocket. And that is the one that is carrying the whole payload, the entire system of Chandrayaan III that did in fact carry. Let's look at GSLV that has happened so far. Well, 3-stage vehicle that we know of. First stage solid, second stage liquid, third stage cryogenic. Thereafter, this is absolutely known to you, so I don't want to go ahead and explain it further. Okay, it's a 3-stage vehicle, easy to remember what it does. Why is it there? Low Earth orbit, geosynchronous orbits, we have done that in extensive detail. All right. Let's look at the payloads now, guys, because, well, from the after it has gone ahead and landed, what exactly are we to expect? So first you're looking at the Chandra's surface thermophysical experiment to measure the thermal conductivity and temperature. Why? One side, look at the whole point of the mission. Eventually you're going to study the moon for what? If you're looking for setting up of a base, what are the things that you need to go ahead and analyze? Firstly, you're going to analyze the magnetism of the place. You're going to analyze the topography of the place. You're going to look ahead, say what's the temperature of the place. All our payloads are essentially designed to go ahead and look for indicators that would confirm whether moon's south pole is a good place for a base. Okay, so let's look at it. Instrument for lunar seismic activity. Again, if you have too many earthquakes happening there, well, what base are you going to put up? Okay. Langmuir probe to estimate the plasma density and its variations. Passive retro effector array for lunar ranging studies. All of them, again, looking at the mapping the topography, mapping the density of the soil, the regolith that is there. Okay, making sure that whether the shade temperature is conducive for, say, human existence at all. Okay, all of the payloads you will be seeking to understand are directly related to our ambitions to create a base there. Okay, now let's look at the rover payloads. Alpha particle X-ray spectrometer to determine the chemical composition and infer mineralogical composition of the moon's soil. You see, once again, primary component of our base is going to be the regolith, the moon soil. You ought to study that, which the alpha particle X-ray spectrometer will do. You're looking at laser-induced breakdown spectroscope to determine the elemental composition of lunar soil. How much of magnesium, how much of aluminium, how much of silicon, how much of potash. All of that. The resources ought to be calibrated now. You understand that, right? It's essentially about resources. It's about resources which will lead to the formation of a lunar base. So what are the resources? What are the conditions for the base? All of that need to be studied, which Chandrayaan III will seek to do. Okay. The propulsion payload, we are looking at shape, which will study the spectral and polarimetric measurements of Earth from the lunar orbit. So you are going to study Earth also from the lunar orbit. The three, say the payloads are important in terms of, say, the match the following, you know. So chased is on where? Chased किस पे launch किया हुआ है? Shape किस पे है? Okay. Where is, say, the X-ray spectrometer? This is a fair question that I would prepare for. The match the following part. All right. So go ahead and take a note of that. I've given you the basic fundamental understanding. In terms of why the Chandrayaan III came second, in terms of speed-wise after Luna, well, this is what happened. This is the exact point. Luna went straight, okay, which means obviously it was much more costly. Whereas our projects are, say, not very costly. Why? Because we use simple physics, okay. That basically you look to get the slingshot mechanism underway. You use Earth's own gravity to slingshot you into lunar orbit. Whereas, say, the Luna, straight away, it got ahead, huge amounts of fuel, straight away decided to fly head on. So you find that, well, Obviously, it will be expensive. You're carrying a lot more fuel there. Okay. In terms of our Chandrayaan 3, what you did was go ahead and raise the orbit every single time. Okay. Orbit was raised by thrusters. Okay. Why was the orbit raised? Because eventually you're looking to go ahead, use that orbital velocity to propel yourself and get escape velocity, exit Earth's gravitational field and go on that long sojourn towards the moon. Okay. So this is what the ISRO did. Same thing, the same process was followed when it entered the lunar orbit. That the controlled orbital descent was done rather than say straight away going and jetting right into say the moon's atmosphere. Controlled orbital descent so as to minimize fuel costs. Okay. So this has happened right now. Well, you're looking at this position where it is positioned at. Thereafter, it will go ahead and engage in a horizontal descent. Thereafter, after it aligns with the moon's surface, you are looking at the vertical calibration. After the scanning of the moon's surface, 800 meters from the sea level or the surface of the moon. All right. This is the entire process of Chandrayaan 3 that will follow through this evening, 5:20 p.m. onwards. Okay, this is, you can go ahead and look at the live stream on the ISRO website. Okay. ठीक है. सवाल का जवाब, जवाब का सवाल, जल्दी जल्दी. Identify the correctly matched. Now, ISRO has a lot of centers that it uses, you know. It's not all done at, say, Sriharikota and Bangalore itself. It has many organizations, sub-agencies that operate within it. So, you are going to go ahead and recognize which is correctly matched for me. Number 1, Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, Thiruvananthapuram. Liquid Propulsion Systems Center, Bengaluru. Physical Research Laboratory, Ahmedabad. Northeastern Space Applications Center, Darjeeling. Which of them are correctly matched? You will let me know. Next question. The correct statements. Venus is the hottest planet in the solar system. Presence of CO2 on Venus makes it the hottest planet. Both Venus and Earth rotate on their axis backward in the clockwise direction. Again, if you have done your NCRTs, if your NCRTs are thorough, the physical NCRT at least, class 11, if you have done this question you can solve even in your sleep. I can assure you. For anyone who would have done his or her NCRTs, this is a very tuchcha question. Okay? Alright. So that concludes our morning analysis that I bring to you every morning, 45-50 minutes, intense discussion, giving you the complete overview of 2 topics that you have learnt today. If you understood this discussion, go ahead and leave a like for me. Or if you want, make it extra special, leave a good comment. Or if there is something I can improve on, let me know that too. I'd appreciate any feedback. Okay? And so that concludes it for today, guys. Go ahead, have a very productive day. If you'd so like, read up on the Chandrayaan 3 as well as Bharat NCAP, because what you realize is that there are policy lacunae in so far as Bharat NCAP is concerned. Go ahead and read about the safe systems approach. Very, very important from the examination perspective. Okay? The safe systems approach ought to be prepared at least from the mains perspective. Any answer on road safety, if it does not include this term, well, I would definitely consider it incomplete. Okay, the safe systems approach. Okay, do read about this. Let me know if you have any doubts. I'll be more than happy to clear them for you. Thank you for joining. Have a productive day till I see you tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. Bye.